I'm Seward Cooper, Seward Cooper. I'm a Liberian, Christian, father, husband, lover of all things African, also American, and someone who's really passionate about people.
So you mentioned earlier that you're an African,
Yes.
an American, a Liberian, a Virginian. Tell us a bit about the family story.
So, start off from Liberia. So, my ancestors, my family is from Liberia, West Africa, from Maryland County, Kipamas to be specific, both on my mother's side and my father's side. And also on my mother's side, we have Ghanaian roots. My grandfather was from Ghana, from Accent.
That's insane.
So we have that connection as well. But I identify myself as a Liberian foremost because although I did not grow up in Liberia for the majority of my life, I believe my character and most of my upbringing is from a lens of a Liberian, in terms of how my parents raised us, what we're exposed to, and whatnot. We moved here in 1990 as a result of the civil crisis in Liberia. And although we're in America, we're very much so in a Liberian household. When you walked in that house, and I'm sure a lot of other Africans experience that, you walk into your house, you're a Liberian. When you go outside, what you represent is being Liberian, all that comes with that. The expectations of doing your best in school, carrying yourself in a proper way. So that, and also embracing your heritage. You know, Liberia's from independence to how it's impacted and influenced the world in general. Those are all things that my parents imparted on us, to educate us on. Now I also talk about being a Virginian and being an American. So by birth, I'm an American. And up until, I say within the past, I've always looked at myself as an American and also as a Liberian, but more so tied to my Liberian heritage. And over the past, I would say within the past 10 or 20 years or so, well 10 years or so, come to realize and accept that yes, I am also an American, and what that means too is living the American experience, because the majority of my life has been spent in America. Although I'm back and forth from Liberia and have the opportunity to have friends and relatives who are still back home. Home for me now means two places. Home for me is Liberia, and home for me is the United States, and specifically Virginia, because that's where we spent a lot of our time. And from a historical standpoint, my father was able to do our genealogy and discover that our ancestors who were born free and left the United States left from Virginia. Imagine you're a 13-year-old kid in school and your driver comes and picks you up and says, today you're going to America.
Just like that.
Just like that. So we knew we were going to be coming here for one of our relatives' weddings. We had a lot of relatives who, after the crisis in 1980, decided to stay and did not move back to Liberia. So to me, as a 13-year-old, I was just thinking, okay, yeah, well, we're going to America earlier, but didn't realize the magnitude of what was going on or how that would impact me going forward. So it wasn't, the time you get to go and hug your friends and, hey, see you later, bye-bye. It was basically, go to the airport, you're out of here. And it didn't really hit me until we got to London and we lived with one of my relatives for a few weeks before my parents came along and met us. And they did a good job shielding us from watching CNN or any news channels so that we couldn't see what was happening in Liberia. Because back home, they weren't exposing us to a lot of what was going on with the war as yet. And when I saw on TV children who were my age, younger, and people of all ages who were involved in fighting and whatnot, it really hit home to me what was really happening. But I still don't think as a young teenager, I still don't think I really understood what the impact of that would be long term. Because a lot of Liberians were optimistic that, well, this is something that we've kind of seen happen before, and it's going to be a short-term thing and quiet down and we'll move back home. And that kind of shaped the decisions my parents had and our whole thinking about being in America, that we're just here for a temporary time and then eventually we'll go back home. Didn't start to set in until you realize, okay, so the summer is going by and you have to enroll in school in America. And of course, well, fortunately for me, we had a lot of relatives that went to the high school that I attended, so it made my transition a lot easier. But there are things that as a 13-year-old, 14-year-old that you really take for granted. In Liberia we had a certain way of dressing that was hip and cool, but what was hip and cool here didn't match exactly what we were wearing back home.
So it was a big cultural
culture
shock, yeah.
But we listen to the same music and all of that, so you connected through that. But things that I thought were cool way of dressing back home was not here. And then you get to school and you deal with some of the things where people are asking you about, well, do you have, why do you speak English so well? Well, in Liberia we speak English. Why do you know about these artists and whatnot? How do you know about NWA and all these different groups and Heavy D and all these people? Because for us, we listen to that music just as much as the teenagers here did.
Conceptions of you as a person. As a Liberian, as an American, as a Virginian, as a black man, all of that.
Wow. So, I think a lot of people will assume just by looking at me that I'm an African American, or I'm just a black man. There's not. You can just kind of see that through the physical appearance. But I'm a Liberian. Sometimes I run into people and introduce myself and say, hey, other Africans, and they say, well, what do you mean you're African? And there's this misconception that Africans are supposed to look a certain way. I don't know why people think that. When we have 50-something countries and people of different origins, and people that have different complexions, different hair, and all of that. And I think misconception as a black man, growing up here, from a young age you start to realize as a black man that people look at you differently based on how you dress, how you carry yourself. People that don't know you can form their own misconceptions and say, okay, well, there's this kid wearing high tops and he has a high top fade or whatever. I'm taking this back to before this high top trend came back. When we were younger, we had high tops. Like, oh, look at that kid, he wants to be hip hop, cool, whatever. But they're just kids. So we look at children now who have skinny jeans and they have I forget what they call high tops now, the broccoli haircut or whatever. They're just kids, and they may not, some people may look at them as, okay, well, that kid's trying to be a hip-hop head or whatever, he's a thug, he's this, he's that. But if you don't take time to really interact with that person, it's easy for you to kind of look at them just through that scope. And then also as a black person, I think a misconception is that, especially with coworkers and people who have friends who are of different races, see me as, okay, well, he's Seward, he's a nice guy, carries himself well, whatever it is. But there's a disconnect, I feel, from them and what the black experience is in America. The black experience encompasses African American experience. I mean, the African American experience, the African experience, the Caribbean experience, all of that. What we deal with on a day-to-day basis is we deal with the similar things, and there's a misconception that, well, because you're African, that you are kind of isolated from that, which is not true. It couldn't be further from the truth. So when you see situations going on in America with police violence and executions of black people, those are things that we feel and hold dear to us too, because I don't have one relative or one, especially male relative or friend, who hasn't experienced some sort of discrimination or harassment by police. And there's a misconception that we don't have to deal with those things because, okay, you're a clean-cut guy in a suit.
An upper middle class.
Upper middle class, or however you want to classify
Upper class, yeah.
Upper class. But we're all fall in that, we're all fall under that broad brush, if you will.
Now, Seward, what's your educational background?
Education, I went to George Mason, got a degree in communications, and then later on got a master's in marketing from Johns Hopkins.
Lord have mercy. So you're an educated black man.
And education is very important in my family, as it is many African families. Both of my parents have advanced degrees, and it's something that is expected, and more so the norm in my immediate family and uncles, aunts, cousins. It's expected that you go on and educate yourself, and even if you don't go on to get master's degrees or whatever profession you decide to pursue, that you are at the top of that.
So this actually proves the notion that African immigrants are the most educated subgroup of Americans. So good to know.
Well, recently I read that African women specifically
are
even a more advanced subgroup. So
that's amazing.
Having a daughter, that means a lot.
I place it.
So my message is, as difficult as it may seem, I think I've learned to not judge people just based on what you see, based on what you hear. Take some time to educate yourself and open up to just be open to people and open to their cultures, their heritage, and get to learn other folks. And you'll find out that a lot of us have more in common than we may even know. I was talking earlier to Nana off camera about Facebook and the connectivity that Facebook allows us. And you will find that there's so many people that share similar values and you are. And I think finding commonalities opens so many doors to collaboration, to different experiences that people may not, be inclined to pursue. But if you can find something that you have in common with someone, that's a starting point. I think that's something that we all as humans should embrace.